will win the 2022 World Cup in Qatar? Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to a very different prediction video from your average YouTube channel prediction video, because it's a debate. And for this debate, I will be bringing Adrian from Abona TV. We'll be playing a game. I'll explain the rules once he's here. We will be debating who will be the World Cup champion, going through each group, knockout rounds, the bracket, and the simulator. Also, make sure to check out the Unsackable Podcast that I do have with Adrian from Abona TV. And this video is being recorded early August, just for a disclaimer, because injuries might happen. So yeah, I am also putting the link of the simulator on the description so you can do it yourself and tell us who's going to win the 2022 World Cup. Tell us on the comment section down below and smash the like button by now. You commented who's going to win the World Cup. You clicked on the link on description to use the simulator. And yeah, we will be doing a heavy World Cup coverage starting around September, October. Until then, we're going to do a mix of World Cup and United States. But as the World Cup approaches, very heavy coverage on the United States, Argentina, and Brazil. All right, let's play the intro. Let's bring in Adrian, and let's start this debate. Okay, everyone, today we have a World Cup prediction video, but it's not your average World Cup prediction video. It's almost a game/debate, which I'm going to explain real quickly how it's going to go. Before we start, I already introduced him in the video. Adrian, how you doing, Adrian?
I'm doing very, very well. I'm looking forward to this debate game. You know, this is an interesting take on World Cup predictions, so I'm down for this, man.
Yeah, I thought that just doing the standard prediction video would just be not boring, but just too average. We got to do something different where we have to like think through and debate with each other and probably not get our personal picks to win. We might just have to accept it.
Yeah, there's some tactics involved here, but you'll go over the rules so people know what we're talking about here.
So here's the rule. We're going to go through each group and give our predictions for each one, okay? We can only advance each group when we agree on the two teams that advance. However, each player, which is me and Adrian in this game, has one veto. Or what I mean by that, let's say we don't agree and we have to move on. I can use this once. I can just say my teams are advancing and they'll advance for that round. And Adrian will still have one left for the group stage. Now, for the knockout rounds, for all of them, round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals, each player has two vetoes. So we can hold on to it. If we want a specific team to go through, we can just use it right away. Each player will have their own strategy. And at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe you'll get the team you want to win. Maybe you won't. And we'll be giving our predictions and talking about each single team. We do know most of the teams in the World Cup, so we apologize if we don't have expertise on all 32. But we'll try our best, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure we'll still get comments that, how do you not know this Tunisian footballer, blah, blah, blah. Look, we try. We're spread a little bit thin. But one thing, Filippo, that some people, because I had this thought as well, why do we have one veto in the group stage and two in the knockout rounds?
So the group stage, it's essentially 8 picks total, right? It's per group. There's 8 groups. Now, the knockout rounds, you have 8 picks on the round of 16, 4 on the quarterfinals, 2 in the semifinals, and the final. So there's more games for this specific game, right? Obviously, in the World Cup, there's more games in the group stage, but we're not going to go through each game in the group stage. We're just going to go through each picks.
Look, it's a perfectly constructed game from the game master Filippo here. So, shall we get started? I'm ready.
Yeah, and I hope more channels do this because it's going to be a fun debate here. So why don't we get started with Group A, okay? Mm-hmm. And Group A has the host nation, Qatar, Ecuador, which will be the second or the first youngest roster in the World Cup, only behind the United States probably, Senegal, which is probably, in my opinion, the most talented African nation in this tournament, and then Netherlands, which might be a dark horse. So this is actually a very underrated group, in my opinion. But I'll give you first, what's your pick for this group? The order, first, second, third, fourth, and why?
So Qatar is a bit of a weird one because I know that they did well a few years ago. And they are the host nation, so there's always that little aspect to it as well, where you don't really know what direction it's going to go for them. They could have the whole country, not a huge country, but a country behind them, pushing them through. But for me, I think that this one is pretty much, I think first place is a layup for the Netherlands. I can't see anyone finishing above them. They just look so good. And then I personally, how do you look past the African champions in Senegal in second place? Ecuador, you know them a lot better than I because I don't follow CONMEBOL as closely as you do, but I've heard nothing but good things about Ecuador. Good young side, very talented. And then Qatar in fourth. So that's the order that I have for Group A. What do you think?
So Ecuador is actually a very good team, but they're very young. Okay, they're well coached by Gustavo Alfaro. Probably Dustin even here will agree with me. Their biggest talent is Moises Caicedo. He's for Brighton right now. I believe he's 19 or 20. This kid is good. One of the best box-to-box U20 players in the world, or U21, whatever he is at the moment. Qatar is a team that I surprisingly know very well because they played in the Gold Cup.
That's right.
Right? It's a counter-attacking team that usually plays with a back three with wing-backs that actually look more like fullbacks. There are a few players in the team that caught my attention that tournament that are very dangerous in transition. They play in transition. Ali and Akram Afif up top are very dangerous. Al Hayados can create. So it is a team to not be underestimated. They're well coached from the Aspire Academy in Qatar that was built a lot with former, sometimes Barcelona coaches, right? Spanish guys. It's a good team that will surprise many. And there is the host nation factor. Yeah. There's also the factor that the ref could help. I don't want to get into that, though.
And Filippo, not to derail you at all, but they also played in Copa America in 2019, didn't they? Also?
Yeah, but that wasn't very good. They didn't.
That wasn't very good from them.
Yeah, so I did follow them a little bit there. I followed them more in Gold Cup because they played the United States. They were knocked out by the United States 1-0, and the game was played in the U.S., right? So I followed them a little bit more there. My picks for this one are actually, I will have Netherlands going first, too. Because I think Netherlands, if things go right, they're a semifinalist team, possibly, I wouldn't say final, but they can make a very deep run here. I have Qatar in second. Then I have Senegal in third, and I have Ecuador in fourth.
Is that down to their youth that you think that it'll just be too much for them? Is a tournament too early type of thing?
Yeah. Ecuador, I think I told this to Manuel, remember, and he agreed with me. I said, Ecuador to me is a 2026 team.
Okay, yeah.
And as long as they keep Gustavo Alfaro in charge, the coach, and these players develop, which there's so many talented players there. I love Gonzalo Plata, Moises Caicedo that we talked about. I forgot how to say his name, the center back for Leverkusen, the very technical center back. Regardless, my picks are that. It'll be Netherlands, and then in second will be Qatar, then Senegal, then Ecuador in fourth. So we disagreed a little bit there.
We did. So my question to you is how do you see Qatar finishing above Senegal? Because they have a very, very, very good team. You know, Kalidou Koulibaly at the back. They have Sadio Mane, who's reaching, I wouldn't say the form of his life. We can't say that, but he's certainly becoming a different kind of player to what he used to be. He's maturing almost as a player, and I think that he's going to cause some major issues there. So, you know, the Qatar thing is difficult because I just think that they lack in the quality. Well, tell me this. At the Gold Cup, because my brain is broken at the moment, at the Gold Cup, how far did they get and how convincing were they?
So they looked like they actually should have knocked out the United States. Okay. That's one thing to say. Matt Turner had one of the best games of his career. He was the goalkeeper for the United States. They're a transition team. That's the thing. And they're going to be playing at home. There's going to be a lot of advantages to that. They've been preparing for this for years. This is the moment. This is what their team and they all play together, right? Most of them play in Qatar, most of these players. I think what's going to happen is I think Qatar will be good enough and defensive enough to give Netherlands and Senegal trouble and tie those games and defeat Ecuador. While Senegal, they're going to attack, right? They have the talent to that. So I think they're going to have a draw with Qatar, and I think what's going to happen is Senegal will probably lose to Netherlands. That's where my pick went. They'll lose to Netherlands, they'll tie Qatar, and they'll beat Ecuador. So I think that what's going to happen is Senegal will probably finish with 4 points. We'll see Netherlands more or less with 7, and Qatar with 5. I think the way they play in transition might cause some trouble to Senegal and to Netherlands, in my opinion.
I think that what Qatar will benefit from is, I believe, Senegal and Netherlands play each other first in this group, right? And I think that Netherlands are going to take that match, and immediately Senegal are going to be on the back foot and almost have to maximize their points in the following 2 matches. So it could play out that just the order of the matches, because this is something we don't talk about very often, is the order in which matches are played in the World Cup is huge. It's absolutely massive for teams. So that could absolutely be a detriment to Senegal's chances. So look, I'm willing to concede. I still think personally that Senegal will go through in second place because I just, and again, it's assuming everyone stays healthy. They do have some older players that are huge for them. If Koulibaly gets out injured, moving to the Premier League, and he's getting up there in age, he has had injury problems in the past. If he is not fit for this World Cup, then that's a completely different story. But assuming they're all fit, I would say second place, but I'm willing to concede.
Okay, so we'll do this one here. I'm not going to use my veto yet, but this one was also not the tough. So we're going with Netherlands in first because we firmly agree on that one. Yep. Qatar in second, Senegal in third, and Ecuador in fourth. We're going to go to Group B now. And this is a group that I actually have extensive knowledge in this group because I've done many videos. I've done videos about England, Iran, a little bit of Wales, and an overall preview of it. Okay, I'll give my picks first. I have England topping the group. Anything short of that to me is a major upset for England. No matter how much I say a lot of their players are overhyped, they have more talent than every single team in this group. Yeah. If anything, even their bench would be able to either top or at least finish second in this group. Okay, I might be overhyping England right there, but whatever. So England topping the group, in my opinion, and I actually think, would you agree with that one? Can I ask you that already?
England topping the group, yeah, 100%.
So I'm going to put that one already because that one we agree with right away.
Get it in there.
I have the United States in second. Okay.
Yeah.
A little bit due to schedule. And I do think also on paper, the United States is more talented than Iran and Wales. Okay. You look at the Wales roster, there's a lot of, they're not the best. They're not really like the best Premier League players that are there, right? Look at maybe Dan James. Aaron Ramsey's getting older and he now might be in MLS. Gareth Bale, also in MLS right now, definitely not in the form of his life. Well, the United States, the only thing that can play against the U.S. is a little bit of experience, right? Mm-hmm. The players are going to be young, all of them, pretty much all of them. For, I think, almost the entire roster that'll be there, it might be their first World Cup for the entire roster. Coach Greg Berhalter is unpredictable. He can be very good or he can be completely crazy. We don't know. The bounce passes will be there, though. We know that. They will be there. So I'm going to go with the United States in second because on paper they're the most talented team and the schedule will help them. They play Wales first. If the United States can pull a win against Wales, which we should be able to, I would hope, I think after that play England, try to get a draw against England, try to play maybe in transition, then play Iran the last game. And depending on the situation, Iran will have to attack the U.S. If Iran has to, oh my God, that might be taken out of context politically. Iran might have to attack in a soccer match the United States. And with that said, in transition, this United States team is very dangerous. That's not how we play. We are a very high-pressing, aggressive team, play with a high line, which is even one of the reasons why John Brooks is not in the team and other reasons too. But I think when we play in transition, we're the best. So I'm going to have the United States in second. I'm going to have Wales in third. And I'm going to have actually Iran finish last. Even though last World Cup they were surprised the way they played against Spain, Portugal, I have Iran in last place.
And you know what? I know this is not exciting, but this is exactly how I see it going as well. I just think that the USA, when they're at their best, are better than Wales. The one thing with Wales that sort of throws a spanner in the works is that if Gareth Bale is in his Wales form, which he often is, he can be that game changer for them. But when I look at their squad and I look at how their trajectory has gone over the last few years, guys like Ramsey have become more, ineffectual, basically. I do think that it's just a tournament. They're a tournament. You know how Ecuador is a tournament too early? They're a tournament too late, this Wales side, I think. Agreed. So, yeah, I definitely see them finishing in third, USA in second, because the talent that you guys have is just fantastic. And if they can all click, then I do see them getting a second. Iran, Mehdi Taremi is going to be diving all over the place. We already know that, as he does at FC Porto. But, I think that it's going to be too much for Iran. So, yeah, I think the way I see it is 1, 2, 3, 4, just as you have it. Yeah. By the way, speaking of bounce passes, I'm thinking Greg Berhalter, his explanation of the bounce passes, I'm sure everyone saw that, it was fantastic. And I'm curious to see if Liverpool and their famous throw-in coach will start utilizing bounce passes for their throw-in tactics on the sideline. And then Greg Berhalter will be, the new phenom in throw-in tactics, basically. So
as a matter of fact, Liverpool should probably hire him.
I think so, because that whole thing he had with the inertia of the ball bouncing so you can get it going quickly. Whew.
The worst part was him trying to explain the bounce pass. He should have just gone and said, I like doing it.
Yeah,
it would have been.
It's fun for me.
Yeah, I like it. I play basketball and I like it. But instead, he had try to have a logic. I was like, Greg, stop.
Yeah,
but okay.
it was like the big brain throw in type thing. Like, it doesn't make a difference, man. Come on. But anyway,
Adrian, now Group C.
Yes.
Go first.
For me, Group C, this one, it's difficult for me between Poland and Mexico because Poland, prior to them, because as you know, Sousa left. He went
So
to
you
Brazil.
gave Argentina already, right?
Yeah, Argentina is in
Me
first.
too.
Argentina is in first. For me, Saudi Arabia is in fourth. And people are going to say you don't know Saudi Arabia. And that's true. That is true. But I do know Mexico and Poland. And what is taking me for a bit of a loop here, Filippo, is Poland prior to Marco Sousa didn't look great. Sousa came in, didn't have the most convincing tournament with them, or qualifying with them. And then he leaves for Brazil, and you know how that went back in Brazil. Mm-hmm. Now they went through the qualifying and looked pretty good through the playoff to get into the World Cup. And them versus Mexico that's the grudge match for second place, isn't it? For me, this Mexican team, I just don't trust them to get through, especially up against Poland. I don't know. This is close to a coin flip for me, Filippo. Let me hear what you think. For second place.
So Argentina to me is a title contender. I've talked about this many times, how in the past they've even had more talent, but this is the best team. This is the best team Argentina has had in probably 20, 30, maybe even 40 years since Diego Maradona. And Julian Alvarez now breaking through with Manchester City, looking good in preseason. The defense is solid, better than ever. Best goalkeeper they've ever had, Martinez. People like to hear this or not. This is the best goalkeeper Argentina's ever had. Romero's good, got experience, and you have Lionel Messi. That is still, guys, look, not his prime, sure. It's still Messi, and he's still gonna, excuse my French here, tear shit up. So Argentina, I agree with you there. Now, my second pick will be Mexico. I have Mexico going through. I think Mexico and Poland, when you look at it, overall the team, probably about the same level. I would agree that Poland has the best player, Robert Lewandowski. There's no question in regards to that. But again, when it comes to that, Mexico finds a way, man. They get out of the group. I don't care. And also, they've looked bad in qualifiers before. Like in the 2014 World Cup, Mexico barely qualified. They had to go to the Interconfederate playoff. So it was crap. Yeah. And they went to the World Cup. They had a group of Brazil. They went through. They find a way. And I think Mexico has enough to go through. I do think some people, I troll a lot in banter Mexico, but I do think there's a little bit overreactions of how bad they actually are. So I think Mexico will go through their group. I said that in my prediction, and I'm standing to it too. And if you pick Poland, I'm going to use my veto on this one.
No, because you know what? In mentioning Robert Lewandowski and how, they probably have the best player between the two countries. Sorry, I'm in preseason mode already. But when you look at his performances at major tournaments, it has not been good. He continuously, I wouldn't put flop next to his name, but he struggles in these tournaments. And I think that Poland, I don't know that their crop of talent is as good as it used to be. I think that they are starting to, get over the hill a little bit. And so I think that you could be right here in that Mexico will find a way through. I think that Robert Lewandowski, I don't know that he'll go 0 for 3, but I don't think that the goals are going to go flying in for him. And I think that he'll be frustrated as he was at the past tournament as well. So I'm going to say you're probably right, man. This Mexican team, like you said, they do find a way and they are very talented. I would say that their squad is probably more talented than Poland's.
It actually. Is overall. It is. I mean, you look at the front three right there. Tecatito from Sevilla, Chucky Lozano, Raul Jimenez. I know he's not the same prior to injury, but he's still a fantastic center forward. Jimenez now went to Feyenoord. If I was
Alvarez in the midfield, one of the better.
The midfield is one of my concerns because Alvarez kind of has to carry that, right? Hector Herrera in MLS is not looking good. Guardado is ancient, and there's really not players there. So they rely a lot on that. But besides that, Mexico's fine. Their talent is good. They have experience with Memo Ochoa there. I actually think Mexico will pull through, and Poland and Saudi Arabia will get knocked out. But Adrian, so we agree on that one. Let's move on to the next one. Group D. You want me to give you my picks quickly?
Go for it.
So again, just like Saudi Arabia, my knowledge on Tunisia is not that great, but on the other three, it's fairly reasonable. Actually, France and Denmark, it's very good. I have Tunisia finishing third, okay, because I didn't like what I've seen from Australia in the Interconfederate playoff. Just didn't look good. They qualified with that kangaroo dance that the goalkeeper did, whatever that was. But they went through. They made it. They're in the World Cup, Australia. But this is definitely not the Australia we were used to seeing a few years back, that they were actually a good team. And even back in the days of Mark Viduka, etc. But nonetheless to say, I'm going to go Denmark first, France second. So the champions curse won't hit France, but they also won't top the group. And we've seen France and Denmark play lately. Denmark is perfectly capable of playing France at the same level. Paul Pogba might not be available. That doesn't help France. It looks like he might not be in the World Cup due to that knee injury, whatever happened to him. He's out for this year, I think. Not confirmed, but it looks like he won't be. And if he is, he's not going to be in form or fully healthy. So I have Denmark first, France second, Australia third, and Tunisia fourth. I'll put Tunisia fourth. So I'll switch Australia in third.
So I pretty much agree with you, except for the order of 1 and 2. I have France in first, and I think that they're going to start really slow. And I think that they will actually be on the same amount of points as Denmark. I think that they're going to draw the match that they play against each other, which I believe is match day 2 in that group. And I think that Denmark and France will beat both Australia and Tunisia relatively easily. So they'll both end on 5 points. But I think that France are going to beat up on, is it Tunisia they play last? It is. I think they're going to beat up on them in that final match day, and then that will put them in first. But honestly, this is not worth me vetoing. This is not a hill I'm going to die on. So I'm going to say, we can go with Denmark in first, because
I'll since you're not going to use the veto, I was going to use the veto if you kept it, but this one is, it almost seems like a group that's like, who's going to be first and second, third and fourth, we know, right? It's just the order. We know the 3 and 4. Also, 3 and 4, the order can change.
But I don't care enough to change 3 and 4, honestly. It's like, you're both out.
I wonder where you're holding your veto for. Okay, so let's go with Denmark for this one here. I think I know where you're holding your veto for. I know where I'm holding mine.
We'll see. But Denmark, I'm a huge fan of what Hjulmand is doing with that team. I think that they're incredibly talented. As they showed at Euro, I mean, they could have beaten England in the semis, and they've just continued to be excellent since then. They're like a really unified team. They're one of those teams that, which, you know, you hear people say now and then, they're a national team that's almost representative of a club team with how unified they are and how cohesive and clear their style of play is. So them finishing in first isn't unheard of. I just think that France is going to edge it on goal difference, and they'll come alive in that third game, basically.
And also, to anyone listening to this, Denmark right now in Nations League, I know it's Nations League, but they just beat France, and France had pretty much everyone playing.
Yeah.
So they beat 2-1, and the game was in France. So them tying France or even beating France, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, not at all.
Group E. Okay, this is an interesting one, but you want to give yours first? It seems it's similar to Group D, right? It kind of have your 1 and 2, and then your 3 and 4. So what's yours?
Yeah. So I think that, you know, I have my favorites. I have my top 2 or 3 favorites for the tournament as tournament winners, I should say. And then I have Spain and Germany right outside, almost level, basically, as far as my expectations on how they'll do in this tournament. But I'm a really big Hansi Flick fan. I think that the way that he organized that squad and his man management, you know, you heard so many stories about how integral he was to that 2014 World Cup win, where he was just the assistant to Joachim Löw, and he got everyone on board, and everyone looked to him as one of the leaders, if you will, in the dressing room as far as the coaching staff goes. So I think that Hansi Flick is just going to continue excelling with his German side, and they're going to clean up in this, not clean up, but they're going to finish in first in this group. Spain in second. Spain, I mean, there's not much to say about them. I do enjoy how they play. I think that it's a good sort of hybrid of, I mean, at times in Euro 2020, they were a little bit boring at times, a little bit too passy, tiki-taka, but I think that there's a good hybrid of that sort of quick passing and interplay that Luis Enrique has with a little bit more directness. My only question mark for them is the striker position, because Ferran Torres is misfiring. Ferran Torres, it's like Morata is rubbing off on Ferran Torres as far as finishing goes. So it's a little bit, that's the one question mark that I have. The rest of the pitch in midfield, they have, you know, Gavi, Pedri, all these young players coming through. Their defense, I'm not really worried about either. So I think that Spain is going to be, you know, right there behind Germany. In third, this is where it's like a bit of a toss-up.
It doesn't matter also, third and fourth.
It doesn't really matter. I just wasn't really convinced with Costa Rica at all in this qualifying cycle. So I have them in fourth, and then Japan in third.
I'm keeping the same picks as you. Costa Rica, again, they live or die by Navas. If
Yeah.
Navas is not there, they're gonna get destroyed by many teams. It's amazing how much that goalkeeper makes a difference for that team.
Mhm.
Japan, very technical team, moves the ball around. I watched them play Brazil, and it was kind of ugly. They got ran over by Brazil in a friendly in Japan, but it's probably not as talented as previous Japanese generations, but it's still a very good team, and I think they'll pull third. I have Germany a little bit above Spain in terms of World Cup contention, right? I have
Mhm.
Spain roughly where Netherlands is in my books, and I have Germany more on like where I have Argentina in my books.
Right.
So I'm gonna keep the same picks as you because I agree with everything you said. Germany in first, Spain in second, Japan in third, and Costa Rica in fourth. Now we reach the group of the almighty Canada. You're Canada. So I'll go first because I don't want to hear your bias here.
No, go for it. Go for it.
So this group, it's the last chance of the Belgium golden generation. Players are still around, obviously. Kevin De Bruyne seems to be as good as always. That one I'll give them
Yeah.
to Belgium. But the defense is either old or gone, part of it, right? Eden Hazard is not half the player he ever was, especially in the last World Cup when they knocked out Brazil, right? Eden Hazard that game freaking ran over Brazil. Him, Lukaku, and De Bruyne for sure, right? De Bruyne scoring a goal.
Oh,
But
incredible.
Eden Hazard, Brazil just had no answer to him. That's not the same player anymore, right? Lukaku, who knows? Maybe he'll go back to his Inter Milan form now. And if he does, he'll be also in the form of his life once again with De Bruyne. Regardless of, it looks like I'm bashing this team. What I'm trying to say is they're not as strong as they were. They've had 2018 was probably their peak. But they're still a very strong team. I kind of put them in the same category as I put a Spain or a Netherlands, right? Not really a World Cup contender, in my opinion, but a team that can make to the semifinals and with the right form and everything, they can do fine. And Roberto Martinez is still in charge, right? So,
Yeah.
so he's been around for a while there. He knows this team, but it's definitely not the same Belgium as before. And the same can be said for Croatia. They peaked in 2018, but still a very strong team, right? And Modric doesn't seem to have slowed down that much
At
just
all.
won the Champions League. Perisic also had one of his best seasons for Inter Milan last season, but obviously missing Mandzukic from 2018 and some players aging won't help. Kovacic will play a bigger role this World Cup than he did in 2018. Gvardiol from Leipzig will be key on the back line for Croatia. And then you reach Canada and Morocco. So Morocco has a lot of problems to deal with. Their current coaching staff has issues with many players. Fortunately, they figured it out with Mazraoui from Bayern Munich, and Mazraoui looks like to be okay to return. Ziyech is not looking likely to go to the World Cup. At least he has problems with the coach right now. Ziyech, Hakimi plays a key role for Morocco. They have good players, but at the same time, you have to wonder how much of these issues will play a role. The World Cup is a tournament that form and cohesion and the team being united and strong matters more than talent sometimes. Obviously, the most talented teams usually win, but for achieving whatever you need. And so I have Morocco in last because of all that field drama. I do think they have talent to give trouble to any team in this group and to beat Canada, but all this trouble, and they looked so bad against the United States in that friendly. They got ran over by the U.S. here. There's only so much Hakimi can do in this team too.
Yeah.
Mazraoui. So what I'm going to have is Morocco in fourth. I'm going to have Canada in third. I think Canada will get the experience they need for 2026. Again, Canada's going to be a low block counter team under John Herdman, rely on Alphonso Davies, Kyle Larin, Jonathan David, Tejan Buchanan from Club Brugge. They're going to have to be. It's going to be a transition merchant team. They will cause trouble, especially to that old Belgium back line, these pacey players. But I think Canada will be third, Belgium first, Croatia second. What do you think?
So there's
veto time. I can see a veto for Canada here.
You think so? So there's the fan Adrian, and then there's journalist Adrian. Journalist? I don't know. That sounds stupid. Content creator, let's say.
Yeah.
I agree with you with Belgium. I think that while this is their last chance, I think that they still finish first in this group, just because, like you said, Costa Rica is going to live and die by Keylor Navas. That front three of Hazard, Lukaku, and De Bruyne, because they typically play that sort of 3-4-2-1 type formation. At least they used to. I haven't watched them more recently. I think that, and if they are firing and if they're connecting, that is how they're going to live and die. And I think that they're going to get through in first, no problem. Morocco, I actually learned that from you just now that Ziyech has issues with the national team manager, so that doesn't bode well for them. But that doesn't really change where I had them placed anyways, because I did have them in fourth.
Mm-hmm. So it just reinforced it, right?
Yes. That reinforced it. And then in second place, I had Croatia. Now, when we look at Canada and Croatia, I just can't see this team getting through on their first. I mean, maybe it would take quite the miracle in order for them to make it out of this group, I think, because Croatia, like you said, they have so many good, talented players, and it's not like they had the end of their golden generation and then there's no talent coming through. Because as you mentioned, guys like Gvardiol, they're coming through, Bracalo, etc. They're all getting through, and they're going to be a very, very good side. And so I think that Croatia and Canada. It would require Canada beating Croatia in the second match, basically, to get through. And I can't really see that happening based on how Canada has played lately, or I guess haven't really played lately with all the issues and scheduling going on. But I just can't see Canada making it through. While they are a quality side and they will cause issues, like you said, third place, I think, is their max. And I think that they're only going to secure that on the final day by beating Morocco. And that will be sort of the good experience that Canada will take from this tournament in general, is just getting that victory at the World Cup in Qatar on the final match day there. Something to take home and be happy about, and something to build upon, and hopefully build upon towards 2026 with more young talent that continues to develop. So yeah, I agree with you, man. I would love to see Canada make it through, but when you look at that side, like you mentioned, Perisic, Modric, Kovacic, there's just way too much quality in that Croatian side. And they're a pretty good tournament team, Croatia, as well. You know, they know how to play in order to advance, that type of thing. It's the Portuguese school of football. So I think that Croatia will make it through in second, and Canada third, Morocco last. Yeah, as you have it there. Beautiful.
All right. Now, Group G. And then Group G, I'll let you give your picks first. I might have to use my veto here.
Might have to use your veto. Okay. So, I mean, Brazil is a no-brainer. I have Brazil as one of the favorites for this tournament overall. So, Brazil in first. They've been looking excellent. Serbia and Switzerland. This is where it's sort of a toss-up for me. Cameroon, they just squeaked it. So, Cameroon's story of getting into the World Cup was stunning. That was an incredible way to get into the World Cup with the last-minute back and forth. So, them getting in was fantastic, but I think that that's as much joy as they're going to take from this entire process of qualifying and then the tournament. I think that Cameroon's going to be in fourth, personally. I'm sorry to any Cameroon supporters out there, but that's just how I see it. And then you have Serbia and Switzerland, and both of these teams are a bitch to play against. Two teams that Portugal has seen many times, both in qualifying and in tournaments lately. Switzerland are always so difficult. I mean, as we saw at Euro 2020, eliminating France, Switzerland are a very well-organized team. They always look pretty good, and they can hurt you at times in the attack, although I do find that they're a little bit laborious in the attack. It's not as fluid, especially when you're relying on a guy like Haris Seferovic, who I have seen enough of at Benfica. He's now at Galatasaray. I wish him well. Thank you for finally leaving on loan. But Serbia is a team that Portugal actually finished second to in qualifying, and Serbia looked excellent. They look fantastic, and they have such a stunning squad, don't they? Kostic out wide, Vlahovic through the middle. They have Savic in the middle, in the midfield. Like, they're just looking fantastic. So for me,
for context for everyone, Savic is the midfielder for Lazio. Vlahovic is the midfielder for Juve. This is a very strong Serbian side, a dark horse in my opinion.
Absolutely. They're a really good team. They showed in qualifying just how good they can be. I can't remember their manager's name. Is it Stojkovic or something like that? We'll have to fact check that. But he's done amazing since taking over for them. They went on a great unbeaten run in order to qualify. So for me, I have Brazil, then I have Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. What's your say?
So no veto for me. Everything you said, I agree. I thought you were going to put Switzerland. Also, Shaqiri in MLS hasn't really looked well, and he's always been a very important player for them, and that doesn't help them. I know it's one guy, but yeah, he's a very important player for Switzerland. Serbia is looking to me. So Serbia was too young in 2018. Now they look much more ready. They look like they're a team for this World Cup, and I have them in second. Brazil is as stacked as they've been since probably 2006. This team forwards, you look at the names: Vinicius, Rodrigo, Neymar, Antony, Rafinha, Gabriel Jesus finding form now, Firmino, it's just too much. There's going to be a lot of players that are amazing left out. Casemiro has a backup. I made a whole video breaking down Brazil which if anyone wants to watch that, I don't know, I'll put the link on the description. Literally going through, breaking down the differences of this roster, previous rosters, strengths, weaknesses. There are issues. The fullback position worries me about Brazil. We might have to bring Dani Alves on the right back at his age, left back too. But overall, that's my main concern with Brazil. Just the fullback, stacked everywhere else. Center back, goalkeeper, midfield, everywhere. Okay?
Yeah.
So now let's go on to the last group, Group H. Okay? And Group H has Portugal, your Portugal, has Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea. Do I go first or do you go first?
Go for it. You go.
Okay, so my order for this group, and I'll give it right away, I'm going to have Uruguay in first, Portugal in second, Ghana in third, because I think Ghana will put up a fight because they have been recruiting some amazing dual nationals. And my main concern with Ghana is that all the dual nationals they're getting, how are they going to look as a team?
Yeah.
Cohesion, right? These guys haven't really played in the national team together, right? They got Tarek Lamptey. They could get Hudson Odoi. There's other players we talked about before that Ghana could get as well. So Ghana, depending on these players they get, I could see them squeezing on the top two.
Yeah.
I just need to see how they're going to look as a team before I actually build them up in that manner. So I've seen Uruguay. In Uruguay, ever since they parted ways with their legendary manager, what's his name again? Not Queiroz.
No.
Oh,
I can
my
see
God.
him with the cane, the old guy.
Yes, Oscar Tabares, if I'm not mistaken.
Tabares, yes.
Oscar Tabares, their legendary Oscar Tabares that they had. They figured it out with Diego Alonso, right? They're a transition team. They let you have possession, but they kill you in the counter. Darwin Núñez is looking good so far in Liverpool, starting at least preseason. We'll see the season. Suarez went back to Nacional in Uruguay, can still be effective even starting off the bench. Cavani, and a lot of young players that are very good. Jimenez in the back with Araujo, can play on the right back. Facundo Pelestri, Valverde, Betancourt in the midfield too. There is so much quality. Arrascaeta, which is a very underrated player for Flamengo in Brazil. I have Uruguay first, okay? Portugal, in terms of talent, I do think they have more than Uruguay, more than Ghana, more than South Korea. But you know, the way they play just frustrates me, and it almost seems like the talent in Portugal is just made to not be maximized with this generation. And also have question marks about Ronaldo, whether or not he should start for Portugal, and how you just can't bench him, right? You can't do it. You can't bench him in Portugal. So I have Uruguay first, Portugal second, Ghana third, and South Korea last. Very reliant on Son. They did okay in the Asian qualifiers. They actually tied and beat Iran, so Iran wasn't able to beat them, but they struggled with some weaker teams. They didn't look that good. So in my opinion, I'm going to go with Uruguay, Portugal, Ghana, and South Korea. And again, Portugal better watch out, and even Uruguay. Ghana, it really depends on how those players gel in. What's your pick?
I thought I was going to have to use my veto power here, but I don't, because I am a huge believer that Fernando Santos is not the right man for Portugal. And like you said, incredibly talented. One of the more talented teams in the world, maybe a little bit less so in defense, but midfield going forward, looking great for Portugal. But Fernando Santos is, excuse my French this time, dog shit in tournaments. He has won 3 matches within 90 minutes across, 3 different tournaments? 15 matches he's played in major tournaments, and he's only won 3 in 90 minutes. That's including winning an entire tournament in Euro 2016.
And Adrian, he might have not made it if Italy didn't flop against North Macedonia.
100%. If Italy didn't flop, I think that Portugal would have had a really, really difficult time up against Italy, because they always do. So I agree with you. I think that Portugal will squeak through just ahead of Korea and Ghana. I actually had Ghana in 4th and Korea in 3rd. I'm not going to die on that hill. There's no point. So I do have Uruguay in 1st, Portugal in 2nd. Also, last time Portugal played against Uruguay, they struggled and struggled and struggled. Now I understand. Do they play a little bit more differently? Because last time Portugal played against Uruguay, it was bunker ball from Uruguay, and Portugal just had no idea how to unlock their defense.
Yeah, it's not really straight up bunker, but they do soak up pressure.
Yeah.
They like I said this. I'm gonna make a video on Uruguay too. When they switched managers to Diego Alonso, Uruguay, they won all 4 games left, right? And every single team they play, even like I thought it was like Paraguay that they defeated fairly easily. Even Paraguay, when they played, they lost in possession. They lost in possession almost to everyone. So to me, that's how they play. They're going to give away possession. They're not going to care too much about that, and they will bunker. They're very annoying to play against. And again, they don't need many opportunities to score. When you have Darwin, Cavani, Suarez up top, you don't need many chances. You create a few, they'll score it. Also with Arrascaeta creating, Pelestri, they have talent.
They have a lot of talent, and that's exactly how they beat Portugal last time. I think they had maybe 2-3 solid opportunities, and they scored both of them, and that was the end of Portugal. Portugal really, really struggles against teams that sit deep, and I think that's only going to continue, and I have no reason to believe in Fernando Santos as a manager in tournaments. In qualifying, even there, you can say that he hasn't been overly convincing. So, yeah, I think it's going to be another frustrating tournament for Portugal in second place.
All right, so now let's move on to the round 16. The groups are on screen. I'm not going to go through all of them again. It's just Netherlands and Qatar advancing Group A, England and USA advancing Group B. It's also important to say that Iran has a very messy situation with their coach right now, Skotic. I didn't talk about that there, but that's another reason I put them in fourth. Argentina and Mexico in Group C, Denmark and France in Group D, Germany, Spain, Group E, Belgium, Croatia, Group F, Brazil and Serbia, Group G, and Group H, Uruguay and Portugal. Now we're going to go to the round of 16, Adrian. Things are going to start speeding up because we talked about almost every team by now. So round of 16, anyone looking on screen right now, the 4 games on the left side of your screen are one side of the bracket, and the 4 games on the right side of your screen are the other side of the bracket. We didn't use any of our vetoes in the group stage, but that doesn't mean it accumulates and we have more. We still only have 2 for this round of this entire knockout round. Adrian, it's time to go to the picks. The first one, Netherlands versus the United States.
This one for me, I mean, I think that USA is going to fight hard, and I think it's going to be a decent match because Netherlands, as solid as they have been, I don't know if Portugal is just a bogey team for them, but they are there for the taking at times. I haven't watched them as much recently, I will admit, under Louis van Gaal. But I still don't really see a world where the USA can overcome this Netherlands team. I just think that they're way too talented. And they're playing quite well under Louis van Gaal, allegedly. But what's your take on it?
This is going to piss off many. I have the United States advancing.
Oh.
I think the United States in the past has shown we've done more with less talent, right? Our team, the United States is known for overachieving when they're in the World Cup, right? With worse teams. And I think we might surprise many. I don't think we're better than Netherlands, just to make that clear, especially on paper.
I don't think that Turner's going to do the his best Tim Howard impression.
It depends on who starts. It depends on who starts, right? Turner, Stefan, we don't know who's going to be the starting goalkeeper. I think what happens is this United States team, I keep saying this, we're best where we play in transition. When we play in transition. And I don't see us playing another way against Netherlands. I think we might need to play in transition. They will be able to hold possession. They're a very technical team. And we are a tough team to score against, the United States. It's very tough, right? Very physical, the back line, the midfield, a lot of athleticism in the team, some big players. The goalkeeper is very good in terms of shot stopping, especially Matt Turner, like you said. I think the United States is going to surprise many and pull through against that. And man, I'm going to get so much hate from international viewers, but I think the United States will surprise Netherlands.
I don't know, man. You think you can hold back Depay, Bergwijn, Frankie de Jong playing balls through the middle, Davy Klaassen, all these guys, Steven Berghuis. I don't know. You think that your defense can stand up to that? This is a whole other breed of opponent that you guys are going to be facing in this one.
I'm going to use the veto. We're going to get the experience against
You're going to veto.
I'm vetoing. The United States goes through.
Okay, the first veto of this tournament.
I only have 1 left. You have 2 left.
That's right. That's right. Okay, what next? Are we doing Argentina, France, or Germany, Croatia?
Let's do Germany, Croatia.
Let's get this one out of the way. I think that, like we said, Croatia is a decent tournament team. They have some top world-class talents in there in Luka Modric. But this is Germany, and this German side is looking really good under Hansi Flick, and I think that they're going to have a really deep run in this tournament. And while this match may have some touch-and-go moments for them, I think that Germany is ultimately going to get past Croatia by a couple of goals.
No arguing. I agree. I think Croatia had their moment in 2018. This one, they got out of the group, but that's it. Last World Cup for legend Luka Modric, and losing to a title contender, to say the least. Now, match 50. Oh my goodness. I can't wait for this game to actually happen, man. Argentina versus France.
You go first this time.
Look.
It's the battle of the 2 stars.
Yes, and I mean, France knocked out Argentina last time. in the round of 16. And France essentially went as transition merchants for that game. Argentina had no answer for Mbappe and company, everyone else. Company, not the player. Company, I mean the other players. So Argentina, as I said, they're not as talented as they were maybe in the 2000s, but this is the best team. They're a collective group of players. It's something to have a bunch of more talented players. It's different to be a good group of players. I have France's second World Cup in a row winning, going down in this game. I have Argentina advancing against France. What about you?
I am not a big Didier Deschamps believer. I think that he is not the perfect manager for this French side, because when you look at the depth chart for France, you'd be hard pressed to find any country in the world, maybe Brazil as well, but you'd be hard pressed to find any country in the world that has that kind of depth. They could send two teams to the World Cup and they would both be close to contenders, at least. They both make very decent runs. But Didier Deschamps and just the way that they've been playing recently, you know, you mentioned that loss to Denmark. You look at how they've played recently, and I feel like this Argentina team, with that feather in their cap from Copa America, sorry to bring that up, Filippo.
Yeah,
I think that they're just I think that they're just going to continue from strength to strength. I think that Messi has a major chip on his shoulder. I think if Di Maria is healthy and he's playing, I'm a huge Di Maria proponent. I think that Di Maria is one of the most underrated players of his generation. I think that this Argentina team is going to go pretty far in this tournament. So I'm going to agree with you. I think that Argentina is going to knock out France in this one.
This Argentina team is a cup team also. They're built for these games, right? Not maybe that's why in World Cup qualifying we saw Brazil get a somewhat big gap in points, but in the Copa America they found a way to squeeze in that 1-0 win. Lo Celso and De Paul in that midfield are very tough to go through. Montiel on the right back or Acuna on the left, or Tagliafico, whoever plays. The forwards, there's talent. Dybala is also an option. Julian Alvarez now. Messi, as you said. Lautaro. I have Argentina going through as well. Now, this one, me against you already. Brazil versus Portugal. Look, I'm just going to tell you right away. I have Brazil as one of the contenders to win it all. I have Brazil knocking out this underwhelming Portugal side. Not untalented, just very boring Portuguese side. But this is a game that's tricky, man. It's not going to be easy for either one.
No, and I think that the only way that Portugal gets through this is if they go full Fernando Santos terrorism ball and play, you know, the double pivot forward at the back, everyone sitting back and then just trying to hit Brazil on the counter. That's the only way that I can see Portugal getting through this, because if they try to go head to head with Brazil, which I wish that they would do, but if they try, and with the way that Fernando Santos organizes them, or the lack of organization at times, I think that they would get beaten quite handily by this Brazilian team. Brazil scares me, you know, the attacking talent that they have, just talent all over the pitch, even in defense. You know, we always look, you think of Brazil and you think of the attack, but in defense and midfield across the park, Brazil is stacked. So Fernando Santos, again, I have no reason to believe in him in tournaments. Let me reiterate, 3 wins in the 90 minutes from 15 attempts at major tournaments. That is a pretty brutal record. So I think Brazil's going through.
Yeah, also, again, Brazil's downfall could be just Neymar, depending on how Neymar arrives in this World Cup, right? If Neymar arrives as a problematic player, that's going to be a problem. If he arrives focused and ready to go with the players he has around him, there's no more excuses. He had problems in 2014. 2018 also lacked some talent. I talked about that in the video I made. But this one, there's no excuses. If he arrives focused, Neymar, he has the help he needs to win a World Cup. Match 51.
With him, sorry to cut you off there just quickly. With him in particular, I don't know if you saw him this weekend and how he performed, but he looked good. And I think that Galtier and the sort of the change that's happening at PSG, I think there's going to be a very serious Neymar this season, especially, I mean, as you know, he always turns it on for Brazil.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that we're going to have a very serious Neymar this season, both at PSG and for Brazil. And I think that he's going to have a good tournament.
Yeah, I think so too. He looks like he really wants this World Cup.
Yeah.
He always has, to be honest, with Brazil. He shows up for Brazil. But next one, England and Qatar. For me, this one, I don't have to explain much. I think Qatar's run ends right here.
Yeah.
Making out of the group stage is already fantastic for them. England is very talented. Overhyped? Sure. But they have way more than enough to go through Qatar.
Yeah,
right?
Of course they do. I mean, questions to be asked of Southgate, but like you said, so much talent in that squad that they should get through Qatar.
Belgium and Spain.
This one, so like we spoke about earlier, this Belgian side in defense is not very convincing in my opinion. In midfield, they have some good players. The attack is good, but I think that Spain is just way too well organized under Enrique, and I think that they have too much talent in order to go out against Belgium. So I think that it's once again a disappointing tournament for this Belgian golden generation, and that's it for them, at least for a little bit, I think. And I think that Spain's going to go through.
Yeah, I don't have much arguing there too. This is a game that can go either way, for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think Spain looks more like a team more closer to their on the rise, while Belgium is a team on the decline, right? And we can't overemphasize how important Eden Hazard was for the golden generation, and him not being himself and eating too much burgers right now has not helped.
He's looked okay. I'm actually interested. This is an aside, but I'm interested to see how he does this season. It feels like it's his first season at Real Madrid, even though it's his like third or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see. He's not going to start over Vinicius, that's for sure.
No, that's true.
You'd have to go maybe on the right wing. I don't know. We'll see. Well, that's off topic. Adrian, we are at match 52. Denmark versus Mexico. I'll let you pick this one first because, I have some controversy with it.
Yes. There's the past there. Look, for me, like we were talking about during the group stage discussion, this Denmark side is incredibly good. Kasper Hjulmand has them playing very, very good football, as we saw in the Euro 2020 and through qualifying, etc. So I just think that Denmark is going to knock out Mexico again, and they won't get that fifth match. I'm sorry. But I think that's going to happen. Look, like you said, Denmark is a team that is beating France currently, a full-strength France. That's hard. That's tough.
I think Mexico's going to go through.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Is this you think they're going to finally get it?
I think they're going to make it to the quarterfinals before 2026. I think Mexico's going to go through. You might need to use your veto here. I'm not going to use my veto here. Yeah, you can use your veto here, one of them. You still have one left, but you can use it on Denmark. But I actually think Mexico would pull through. I do understand that many people would get pissed and saying, wait, you had Denmark beating France, but you don't have them beating Mexico. Like I said, I said Mexico is definitely having their trouble. They're not as bad as some people think they are. I think they would pull through here. They would find a way to go through their forward, get informed. Tata Martino is also not a bad coach, even though people are crapping on him quite a bit. So you use your veto here. I still have one veto. You have one. Denmark will go through, but just like I did in my first prediction video, I had Mexico. But yeah,
I just think you take this Denmark side and what they did at Euro 2020 and what they have done recently, and you add Christian Eriksen back in there and how good he has looked recently. I just think that they're going to be too much for Mexico. But hey, I'll use my veto anyway. Let's do this.
All right. Now we get to Uruguay and Serbia. I'm trying not to be biased here. If I'm biased as a South American person here, I would probably have Uruguay going through. But as I said, I think Serbia is just going to have their way in this tournament. They're going to be a very tough team to beat. They're big. That's going to be a problem also, even though Uruguay has some big players too.
Yep.
I think Serbia will knock out Uruguay. It's a game that'll be tricky. It's almost tricky. It's like, who's going to hold possession? Who's going to take the initiative in this match?
I'll have Serbia. After you kind of game.
Yes, I'll have Serbia going through. Also, I have question marks of after the group stage that will be tough for Uruguay. Could Cavani and Suarez be a little gassed out? They're very important for this team.
Darwin is the big question mark in my opinion, because he is, I mean, as a Benfica supporter, I know what he has to offer and I know his limitations. And what he does in these first few months under Klopp going into this World Cup could be a sort of a deciding factor for them if he gets just a little bit more clinicality. But, and like you said, maybe you seem biased South American, but I've seen the Serbian team and how difficult they are to break down and how they can be difficult to defend against as well, because we forgot to even mention Dusan Tadic, Mitrovic. Like, they have so many options both in the midfield and going forward that I think that this Serbia team, like you said, could be one of the dark horses.
Yeah, so I'm going to have Serbia too. I'm going to have Serbia over Uruguay. And it hurts me because I actually wanted Uruguay to make a quarterfinals, maybe a semifinal run, but I think Serbia would be the problem. Now we reach the quarterfinals, Adrian. We still have one veto each for the rest of it, okay? And there's 7 games left total. This one, I'm not going to use my veto again because then it'll just be complete delusion. I do have Argentina knocking out the United States. It's just going to be a complete out town. What I want to see from that match from the United States, if it happens, is the U.S. put up a fight, right? Argentina have to go after it, not like a 3-0 win. Have to get a 2-0 win, a 1-0 win, 2-1. Put up a fight. If the United States makes the quarterfinal and puts up a big fight against the U.S., against Argentina, I'm happy. But I'm assuming you're also picking Argentina.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's end of the line for USA. I mean, the second time it will be the end of the line. I had them going out earlier, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because Argentina, Netherlands, we won't analyze games we aren't picking, but that would have been an interesting one.
Now,
I still think Argentina would have beat Netherlands as well, but yeah.
Brazil and Germany. We meet again.
Ooh, this is where it gets difficult for me because, the Germans are they're a machine once they get going, They're a machine once they get going. And this Brazil side, maybe some PTSD, some flashbacks, the 2014.
Or revenge. Fire in their eyes.
It could go either way. Look, I think I sort of alluded to this earlier. I have Brazil as the favorite for this tournament, and I think you do as well. So I think that one way or another, Brazil is going to find their way through Germany and get that revenge. I don't think it's going to be easy. It could be an extra time, but I think that Brazil is going to go through.
Me too. I also think this Brazil team has a lot of experience, right? They have lost World Cups. I don't think they're going to feel the pressure as much. The World Cup's also not played in Brazil, so there's less pressure. Believe it or not, it's worse for Brazil to play in Brazil for the World Cup. Yeah. So I think it's the time. I don't think any of the players are going to, most of the players that are there, like Thiago Silva, Marquinhos, Neymar, Casemiro, these guys are not going to feel the pressure for this one. And Gabriel Jesus coming into a second World Cup, and many other players, right? Obviously, we'll see how Vinicius and Rafinha and Antony step it up, but I think most should be fine. Vinicius didn't feel it in the Champions League, the pressure. So
no,
we'll see that. England and Denmark. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
As much as I had Denmark knocking out, essentially beating France or staying ahead of France, I think England will pull it through on this one. It's not going to be an easy game for both sides. And man, people are probably wondering, it's like, you talk so much crap about England, you say they're overhyped. Yeah, because overhyped and bad are different words, right? They're a very talented team, much more technical than England was in the past when they were long ball merchants, right? They have actual technical players now. So I have England going through. What about you?
They've been in some shit form lately. Didn't they lose like 4-0 at home against Hungary?
I mean, Southgate tax.
It's the Southgate tax, and I think that ultimately that is what's going to hurt them in the end. I have Denmark going through, just by. I mean, I didn't expect to have them going all the way to the semifinals, but the way that this is sort of played out, I guess, is a possibility. I think that Denmark could go through. I think that they would get revenge for that loss that they had against England in Euro 2020 in the semis. Was it? Pretty sure it was the semis.
Semis.
Because like I said, I think they're an even better team than they were at that time. England, are they better than they were at Euro 2020? I don't know. I thought that they were a little bit unconvincing throughout that tournament anyway. There was never a moment where I was like, oh, now this is a good English side. This is a team that is playing really well because, like you said, it's that Southgate tax where they often don't look very inspiring on the pitch. So I personally think that if these two were to face off in the quarterfinals right now, Denmark would be the one that would go through.
Are you willing to use your veto on that one?
Am I willing to use my veto for England?
Knocking out England with your veto, you're going to lose all your English viewers.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
You're knocking out. All right, so Adrian just knocked out England.
See ya. Now everyone's going to turn on me on Twitter. The heat's off of you. You are now an England defender officially, I think.
I would never have them winning the World Cup, just to make that clear. Even if they kept going, we would get to that eventually. And then the last one is Spain and Serbia. I'll go right away. I think this is where it ends for Serbia. They could still pull an upset, but I think this is where Spain, well-rounded team, would pull through and out-talent Serbia, go through the tiki-taka, hold possession, not let them play.
Yeah.
Tough game, but I think Spain would pull through.
Exactly. It's not going to be pretty, but I think that Spain will go through.
Semifinals.
Wow. South America on one side, Europe on the other.
Brazil and Argentina. This is fun, actually. This semifinals, if this happens. Brazil and Argentina. This one is so tough, and this game will probably have a fight. It'll probably be crazy. Brazil had the deportation game in the qualifiers with Argentina. The rivalry is the biggest national team rivalry in the world. No questions asked. There's a lot of even hatred among the countries when it comes to soccer. Some of it very unhealthy, in my opinion. I have to go Brazil because never in my lifetime would I pick Argentina over Brazil. And I also have to use the veto regardless of what you pick. I don't care. I would never let Argentina go through against Brazil. But this is a game that can go either way. We saw in the Copa America final, Argentina found a way. Brazil has more talent and more depth, for sure, than Argentina. But under Scaloni, this Argentina time really looks like a cup team. And I would not put it past them to go through against Brazil. I have Brazil here because I can't pick them to go through. Just like if the U.S. faced Mexico, I would never pick Mexico over the U.S. And I'm using the veto, but I want to hear your opinion on it before we go to the next one.
First of all, I apologize that I was choking on water, which is a weird thing that happens to humans constantly. Yeah, I have Brazil going through as well. Like you said, this Argentina team is built for a tournament, and they showed in Copa America how good they can be. But even then, they just edged them. I don't know how many matches you guys have played since then. There was the deportation game, as you mentioned.
We play again in September. The deportation game. It's going to be a competitive match because technically it's World Cup qualifying, but it's also friendly because they're both qualified. Brazil and Argentina is usually those games that can go either way, but Argentina counted on a mistake from the back line and Renan Lodi to get the 1-0 win. Yeah. Besides that, Brazil was a better team, and they are a better team, but it's one of those games that there's like predicting it now. It's not really a prediction. It's just guessing.
Yeah. And it's when you have teams that are such big rivals like that, sometimes form can go out the window regardless, and it can be a bit of a coin flip. And even looking beyond that, with how close they are as far as talent and the quality of the sides, it makes it even more difficult to call. I mean, I think Brazil just edges it. So I'll agree with you there. I think Brazil is going to make it through to the final.
It would also probably be one of the biggest games in World Cup history.
Yeah,
a semifinal.
Often, and we know this, often the semifinals are way better than the final anyway. So that, I hope, is a matchup we get to see in the semis.
Now, Adrian, to wrap up the semifinals, I have Spain knocking out Denmark. I think this is where Denmark's dream ends for the World Cup. What about you?
I think so as well. I think that they're going to, again, sort of win the hearts of all the neutrals as they did at Euro 2020 and that run that they had. Of course, there was the Eriksson situation as well, which helped. But I think that Denmark is going to put up a decent fight, but Spain is going to take it in the end and make it to the final against Brazil.
Yes, and then Spain and Brazil. Right now, we both don't have a veto anymore. I would like to just hear each one's picks, essentially. I actually have Brazil winning the World Cup. I've had a prediction video saying it. Again, Brazil could get knocked out. Brazil has a very tough bracket, by the way. They could get knocked out by Germany. They could get knocked out by Argentina. And they could get knocked out by Spain. Clearly, Spain's bracket. Or Portugal. Yeah, Portugal, Germany, Argentina, and Spain. Look at Brazil's bracket. Yeah. It's tougher than Spain. So Brazil will probably arrive in the final a little bit more beat up, especially that Brazil-Argentina game. Could have some red cards, suspensions, injuries. That's going to be a very intense and violent game. Spain will have more of a soccer game, an actual game. So that could play in favor the scheduling for Spain. I think this is where it ends for Brazil, the drought of not winning a World Cup since 2002.
The drought.
The drought. Yeah, it's a drought for Brazil, right? Again, it is anyone that says it is a little bit of a biased opinion because any of these teams I just listed can very well knock out Brazil.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't even, and by that I don't mean like an underdog story or just having the right game the right day. No, they're as good as Brazil and they can beat them. Especially Germany and Argentina. Portugal, definitely a step below, but Germany, Argentina, it doesn't have to be the right day. Just a normal day, they can beat Brazil. And the same goes for Spain. I'm gonna go Brazil. A little bit of a biased pick, but at the same time, I think a fair pick. Who do you think is going to win? Spain the second or Brazil the sixth title?
I think it's going to be the sixth because it's that Spanish attack that just throws me for a bit of a loop. And I do wonder, as talented as those young fellows like Pedri and Gavi are and all the trust that Enrique has in them, it's the World Cup final. And I think that Brazil, they have some proven winners in there already, very mature, a good mix of mature and young talent, which I really, really like. You could say the same with Spain as well, but I just think that Brazil it's their year. They've looked really, really good. I think that they're going to sort of bounce back from that Copa America final loss, and Neymar will finally get it. Get that.
And it'll change his legacy too, completely.
Absolutely.
I also think the only team that's better than Brazil on paper is France. They're better on paper.
On paper, yes. Because there you have the Deschamps tax, in my opinion.
And look at this. On this website that I'll put the link on description so people can also mess around and everything, 18 players predicted Brazil to win the World Cup. So it is a heavy favorite. That's 18%. Almost 20. That's 1 every 5 pretty much pick Brazil winning, which is pretty good.
Yeah, when you spread that across all of the the other candidates, the Germanys, the Frances, Argentina, etc., that's pretty convincing.
Yeah, so I guess we're not too crazy with that. Well, I hope everyone that watched this enjoyed this. It was a little bit of a different prediction. Also, we pretty much did a World Cup preview because we covered almost every single possible team besides a few. We skimmed through it. We can't stay here for 3 hours. Adrian, thank you very much for coming along. Anything you want to add? You're going to be doing a full World Cup coverage, right, on your channel?
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to commit to daily videos yet, but we'll get somewhere close to that. At least, quick live streams or something like that. So yeah, I'll be doing a lot of World Cup coverage. And yeah, this was really fun, man. This was like a nice podcast length, something to really have a meal to. So enjoy, everyone. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed that.
Hopefully everyone enjoys. Go check out Rabona TV if you haven't already. Full World Cup coverage there. In this channel, obviously more United States, Brazil, and Argentina. We'll focus on that, and we'll try to go through everything else as well. Maybe Uruguay, South American. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Hang on.
Go ahead.
Check out Unsackable Podcast if you want to hear more of me and Filippo speaking with each other. Me and Filippo, plus Manuel, the German, who's going to fight us if he ever sees this video and how we disrespected Germany. In his
I thought we were too nice to Germany.
Maybe we were. And Josh, we'll have to get his thoughts at some point as well.
I need to add that
too.
Plenty
of that. Yeah.
You are right. The Unsackable Podcast, we have it every week. New episodes will be covering the World Cup there. The link will be on the description for the podcast, so don't forget to check that out. I can't believe I forgot to talk about that. Many episodes like this, probably better actually, because we have more people around like Josh and Manuel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Drop a like before you go if you made it this far in the video. Have a great day.